welcome back to Caps Hockey Review. I appreciate you joining me once again. Well, the Caps in New York City on Monday night, looking for a win. The first time in New York City all season, if you can believe that. It turned into a real chippy affair. We'll get into it right here, right now. Caps Hockey Review. Let's go.
Red Lights, Stanley Cup champions.
And off we go. Caps Hockey Review underway. As I said, Caps in New York City on Monday taking on the Rangers. There's some big lineup changes once again for the Caps. This is turning into a bit of a battle of attrition with all these missing players. Ovechkin and John Carlson would slot back in. That's some good news coming into this thing for the Caps. Bad news. Evgeny Kuznetsov, Ilya Samsonov both out due to disciplinary action implemented by the Capitals. Both individuals were late for a team activity or a team function, whatever you want to say. Either way, they would not dress for Monday's game. Also, TJ Oshie taking time away for a personal matter, finding out Tuesday morning that the personal matter, he has taken time to mourn the passing of his father, Tim. Anybody who follows the Capitals or anything like that knows that Tim Oshie suffered from early onset Alzheimer's, and just thoughts and prayers, condolences out to the Oshie family during this difficult time. So, getting back into hockey, the Capitals would run with 17 skaters on Monday night. We've seen this before. Earlier in the season, they really just run with 3 centers. So you have 4 sets of wingers, 3 centers, and your 6 defensemen, of course. They would do that here. This is a formula that's really worked for the Caps in the past, honestly. I mean, it's kind of it makes it a little bit difficult for the centers. I mean, you're double shifting at points. We saw Nick Dowd kind of stick with just his regular line mates in that first period, and Backstrom and Eller were pretty much double shifted there for a while. But for good reason. I mean, Laviolette really likes that fourth line, Hagelin, Dowd, Hathaway line. And for good reason. They are good all the time, even when the rest of the team isn't. These guys always just seem to do their thing. They always play well together. So I can see why he wants to keep them together as much as possible, even in a difficult situation like this. So we'd see that fourth line really kind of be the straw that stirred the drink in this one. Nick Dowd, a goal and an assist. Garnet Hathaway, a goal and an assist. I mean, these guys are good every night, like I've said, and tonight they were great. They made it happen for the Capitals. Without these guys doing what they did, I don't think the Caps would have won this game. But great job. I mean, you need some help. You're missing some big names from this lineup. You need some help, and they certainly got it from that fourth line this evening. Michael Raffl also was a really big factor. Connor Sheary chipped in a goal. Daniel Sprong chipped in a goal. So really getting some help from the depth guys when you need it most. That's a great sign. Off we go, first period. Alex Ovechkin would take one shift in this game. The first shift lasted 39 seconds. He would leave the ice, go down to the locker room, and he would not return. Peter Laviolette, discussing after the game, talked about he just isn't quite as ready as he thought he was, issues like that. That leads me to believe this lower body injury is a muscle pull, a sprain, strain, whatever you want to say. These kind of injuries are really frustrating because there's no magic remedy to fix them. It's really more of just a time thing. It just takes time for that to kind of heal and stop feeling pain. Now, in this instance, Ovi probably, started feeling good, walking around, maybe felt good in the morning skate, but once you get out there and go full speed, you really don't know until you get out there. And that's probably what happened in this instance. Hopefully, I mean, he needs to be good for the playoffs. At this point, if he misses the rest of the regular season to get this thing under control and to feel good and be good to go, so be it. If he misses the rest of the regular season, who cares? They need him for the playoffs. That's going to be the important thing. So Ovechkin leaves. Now you're down. Now you're down another skater. You're down your captain, your best forward. Well, we'd see the Caps power play get a look shortly after Ovi left the ice, and this was a different look power play. So we're missing TJ Oshie, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Alex Ovechkin. No Justin Schultz in this one either. I forgot to mention right off the top. No Justin Schultz either. Just looks precautionary, but hopefully that's what it is. We're seeing a lot of injuries pile up here at the latter stage of the season. So this power play looked really, really interesting. We saw John Carlson in that quarterback position at the top, of course. Nick Backstrom in his usual spot. Then from there, we see Tom Wilson in the usual TJ Oshie spot in the slot. We see Anthony Mantha slot in on Evgeny Kuznetsov's slot, kind of below the goal line and working up the half wall. And finally, Daniel Sprong hanging out in the office in place of Alex Ovechkin for this one. I like the changes. Wilson's a big guy. Put him in front of the net. That's a great job, great plan for Laviolette. Mantha in that Kuznetsov spot. The guy's got some hands. The guy's got a shot. Put him out there, see what he can do. Daniel Sprong in the office. That's an interesting play, and I really do like it. He's got a heck of a shot, and he likes to shoot the puck. That's great for him. Right-handed shot. He's in that one-timer position. That's really, really a good call by Laviolette. While this power play didn't score, they did manage some really good chances, really good zone time. This was pretty good, all said. I really would have liked to see more from this power play as the game went along, but no such luck. Only that one chance this evening. Looking at the rest of the first period, the Caps had a lot of odd man rushes in this thing. It's a really good sign. We saw some 2-on-1s, a couple breakaways, a 3-on-2, maybe a couple of those. It's really good. I mean, the Caps are using their speed and their passing to really kind of stretch out the ice and stretch out that Rangers defense. And we saw we saw that kind of lacking in that Saturday game against Pittsburgh. So it was nice to see the Caps get back on track with that here, and hopefully that'll continue. Now, Nick Dowd, as I've talked about, as I've already touched on, had to put the first goal in the net for the Caps right away. That's a really good sign. You get a depth guy putting the puck in the net. 10th of the season. He's never scored this many goals in a regular season, and he's scored 10 in a 56 game season. That's a really encouraging sign. Is he going to be a 20 goal guy? Yeah, probably not. But 15, sure. A few minutes later, 132 after that Dowd goal, Connor Sheary with a nifty little spinorama in front of the net gives the Caps a 2-0 lead. Vanacek had to make some big saves at the other end. He got tested a little bit too much, and Mika Zibanejad was able to blow one by him there toward the end of the first period. Caps go into the intermission up 2-1. Things are looking all right. You know, you give up one. It was a great shot by Zibanejad. Let's just get back on track in the second period. Keep doing what we're doing. We'll score some more. Well, that's not what happened. The Rangers came out quick in the second period, scored 2 unanswered goals right off the hop to get a 1-goal lead. Then they get to the power play. This is not looking good for the Caps in this moment. Down a goal, giving up 2 quick ones, and you're back on the PK. This is tough. Well, on that particular power play, it would change the entire complexion of this game. It turned into a pretty ugly affair here. Vitek Vanacek has the puck covered. He kind of gets hacked and whacked a little bit by the Rangers' Pavel Buchnevich, and all hell breaks loose. Tom Wilson's got Buchnevich pinned to the ice. Dowd and Dillon have guys on the ice. Artemi Panarin jumps on Wilson's back. Wilson throws him off, and then kind of ragdolls him from there. That was an interesting little sequence. This would come to be this little incident has sparked hockey Twitter on Tuesday morning. This is a very, very polarizing figure in Tom Wilson doing what he needs to do in the moment, but he's doing it to the best player on the Rangers team. The optics on this are very split down the middle. Either there's some people who are all for it, they're fine with it, and there's people who absolutely hate it and want Tom Wilson banned from the league. We'll circle back to this more at the end. I want to kind of work through the rest of the game here before we get off on Tom Wilson too much. Well, this would really, really turn the complexion of the game, like I said. I mean, it's kind of ugly. You get Brendan Dillon gets a double minor for roughing. Tom Wilson gets a double minor for roughing, as well as a 10-minute misconduct. So as I talked about, you come into this game with 17 skaters. You lose Ovechkin, and now you lose Wilson for 14 minutes in total. That's a lot. That's stretching that forward group pretty thin at this point. So what do? Well, the Caps could have folded, but they stuck to their guns and they played really well. The Caps would tie the game with Garnet Hathaway's goal. This fourth line, you need your depth guys to chip in when you're missing top guys. Ovechkin, Oshie, Wilson out for the time being. Kuznetsov also out. That's a lot of big names. That's a lot of firepower. So great to see these guys stepping up and doing what they need to do in the absence of these quote unquote superstar players. We'd see Daniel Sprong in the third period. The Caps really in the third period just took control of the game. They outshot the Rangers 14-5 total in the period. That's really, really good. That's a situation where you see the trailing team usually outshoot the winning team in the third period when they're trying for that tying goal. But Daniel Sprong put the Caps up early. Wilson actually exits the box for his misconduct with that whistle from the goal. He had to wait for the whistle to exit the box. A little while later, Nick Backstrom adds the insurance goal. Okay, so now we're looking pretty good, and the Rangers were just kind of dead in the water from there. Wilson would add an empty netter to seal the deal. 6-3 Caps, the final. Stats of note here. I'm going to go pretty quick through this. The Caps outshot the Rangers 40-26 in this game. We're starting to see this a little bit more often. The Caps are outshooting opponents more. That's good news. You want shots. The more shots you have, the more likely they're going to go in the net. The Caps are really good at creating high danger chances as well. So more shots, more chances on rebounds. It's all good. That's what we like to see. The Rangers power play clicking at 1 for 4. They had plenty of opportunity in this one. The Capitals 0 for 1 on that power play, like I discussed a little bit ago. And finally, face-off percentage. The Caps are doing much, much better in face-offs, winning 53.4% of the face-offs in this one. Anytime they're over 50%, I'll consider it a win. Considering where this team has been the previous couple years on face-offs, that's just fine. We'll take that any day of the week. And finally, notable players in this thing. Nick Dowd, Garnet Hathaway. These two guys did really, really good things. Carl Hagelin also chipping in with a couple assists on that line. This fourth line, they should be the 3 stars of the game. Absolutely. They kept this team up. They stepped up. They stepped up huge. A goal and an assist for each Dowd and Hathaway. Hagelin with a couple assists of his own. Michael Raffel, 2 assists. The guy was brought in for depth. You never know when you might need him. Injuries, well, they need him now, and he's producing, which is great. Tom Wilson, the boogeyman, 1 goal, 1 assist, 14 penalty minutes in total. Wow. So we've kind of worked through the game. Vitek Vanacek, I'll touch on briefly. I like to touch on this whole goalie situation. Peter Laviolette will name a definitive starter in time for the playoffs. Now, was this Vanacek's best performance? No. But he made some big saves. He kept the Caps in a position to win, which at this point of the season, with this young of a goaltender, that's all you can really ask. This competition is far from over in my mind. I don't know if missing this team activity and being suspended will hurt Samsonov's chances. It possibly could, but hopefully play on the ice will ultimately dictate who gets this starting job come playoff time. So, still very unclear on the whole goalie situation as far as playoffs go. And now, I guess I'll just kind of dive right into this. We're going to end on a little Tom Wilson talk today. So, this play, play, Wilson gets the 10-minute misconduct. As I said, this little sequence, this incident, whatever you want to call it, has hockey Twitter ablaze with fury on Tuesday morning. Coming out from NHL players' safety, Tom Wilson was fined $5,000, the maximum allowable under the collective bargaining agreement, for his role in this little incident. I gotta be honest, I was sure a suspension was coming. The play does not look good. He kind of ragdolls Artemi Panarin. But let's dive a little deeper into the play itself. You see Pavel Buchnevich kind of poking at Vitek Vanacek after he has the puck covered. That's a big no-no. Anybody who's played hockey understands one of the golden rules is you don't screw with the goalie, especially after a whistle. It's a golden rule. You don't do it. If you do it, you're asking for trouble. Someone from the other team is going to come rattle your cage and tell you you're not going to do that again. And that's exactly what happened here. Wilson got kind of suckered Buchnevich, a little sucker punch in the back of the head. Yeah, that's whatever. I don't like it. Particularly, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's part of the game. And this is where hockey fans split, because you have these old school fans who think that the league is going too soft, the players today are too wimpy, whatever you want to say, however you want to put it, that's the way it kind of is. And then you have the new age fan who just, I don't want to say they want to turn the game into soccer, but it's kind of going that way. Like every hit you see, just because it hits big or anything like that, they expect a suspension to come, and that's not how it should be, and that's not how it is. I myself tend to kind of fall in between the two. I think some of these old school guys are a little bit out of touch and a little bit uh, old school in their thinking, and they need to come forward a little bit. They say, "Well, back in my day, this hit was legal." Well, back in your day, guys can't remember their own names after 50, and these new age fans as well. It's the game needs hits, the game needs fights. It's not gonna stop. You got to get used to it, guys. It's just the way hockey is. It's not the ice capades, it's not soccer, it's not ballet, it's whatever you want to say. You have guys moving at incredibly fast speeds on an enclosed playing surface. There's no out of bounds here. Collisions are going to happen, hits are going to happen, tempers are going to flare, fights are going to happen. It's just part of the game. That's what it is. In this particular instance, Artemi Panarin kind of jumps on Tom Wilson's back and Wilson throws him off, as he should. That's fine. That's absolutely. Anybody jumps on your back like that, you're going to throw them off. I don't care who you are. You're going to throw them off. After that, Wilson, the blood kind of boils over a little bit, and then he just ragdolls Panarin, takes him to the ice, gets a couple punches in on him. And that would end up being the end of the night for Artemi Panarin. And that's where this kind of really turns interesting, because in his post-game presser, Rangers head coach David Quinn made a very good point to say how disappointed he is in Tom Wilson, and this line can't be crossed and we can't have this kind of play in our game. And oh yeah, by the way, Artemi Panarin's out for the rest of the year. We see coaches time after time after time sit at the podium post game. They don't really give much for updates on players. You hear, oh, lower body. Oh, well, how long is he out? Oh, we don't know. We'll reevaluate him tomorrow. And that's about all you get mostly. But there's this groovy new trend. It's not so new. It's a couple of years old now. But when coaches see an opportunity to suspend an opposing player and they have an injured player as a result of the play, they are very, very, very quick to note, oh yeah, my guy's out the rest of the year. It's a grab for a suspension. He's hoping to get Wilson suspended for this. And a lot of people thought he should be. I myself thought he could have been. I would not have declared at the end of the world if he had gotten a game or two for this. However, Artemi Panarin was a willing participant in this little melee, this scuffle, this whatever you want to call it. He was a willing participant. He picked the biggest guy in the fray. I mean, that's just a poor choice on Panarin's part. It's not like Wilson dragged him into the fray as Panarin was standing there trying to be an unwilling participant. Panarin was willing to jump into this thing, and he did. you gotta be able to defend yourself if you're gonna jump into this stuff. Does it make what Wilson did okay? No, not necessarily, but it's a hazard of the game. That's what happens in hockey. You have to be careful who you're going after because they might hit you back harder, and that's what happened here. So it was a really really chippy game. I enjoyed this game for the Caps, a big win. They have another game against the Rangers on Wednesday. I have a feeling that's going to be a very chippy affair. Wilson, of course, will be in the lineup. I'd suspect some retribution from the Rangers coming here, but we'll see. They don't really have too many of those like sandpaper grit guys, so maybe they'll go out and pull somebody up from the minors. It wouldn't shock me, but we'll find out on Wednesday.